Nicosia has an amazing history and a privileged position in the history of fortifications architecture. When the Lusinians came to Cyprus, we had a first fortification that dated down to the 13th century. But as the Venetians took over in the 15th century, in 1489, they sent over very important architects like Ascanio Savorniano and Giulio Savorniano, who came to see the state in which our fortifications, our 13th century fortifications were. And they realized that they were not able to keep up with the new weapons that the Turks had acquired. So Venice, the Senate, decided that Nicosia had to have a new fortification system according to the new theory, which is fronte bastionato, of course, where there is a moat, which is actually filled with water, and there is an inner system where the bastions have a different structure than the old round towers that pre-existed. In 1567, Giulio Savorniano, who comes from the Veneto, from Friuli, from Osopo to be precise, is shipped over to Cyprus while he was still working on the fortifications of Corfu and of Crete at the same time. And he was shipped over to Cyprus, where he was given the instructions to build a new fortification and to look out of what was happening in the fortifications of Famagusta. So in 1567, when he arrived here, he destroyed in the outer surrounding of the old fortification of the 13th century, and we have a monk who accompanies him, monk Nogiero, and who writes down what was destroyed so that he could collect the rubble and he would be able thus to build the new fortification. So what Giulio Savorniano in 1567 did was destroy 99 churches and monasteries that were in the larger outskirt, 1,800 houses, and 14 palaces. And with the rubble he got from all this destruction, he created this new system of fortification, which was much tighter. Thus, he made a smaller fortification that was comprised of 11 bastions and 3 gates. We're within the Famagusta gate, which is the most beautiful gate, done in 1569, and we know that because we have the correspondence of Giulio Savorniano, and he's very proud of this gate because it's built with a particular character. And of course, the whole system of the fronte bastionato is imposed, but on a pre-existing city. And as he was not able to terminate his idea of this ideal city, he could not go ahead with the radial axis that would bring the cavalry, of course, directly to the bastions. Lala Mustafa, the Turkish leader of the armies, was already in the outskirts of Nicosia by the time the fortification finished. And we know that the city withstood a siege that lasted 4 months. Of course, this was amazing. So when Savorniano returned back to Venice, he had a very fierce criticism on behalf of the Venetians, saying we built a completely new fortification and it only lasted for 4 months. And of course, the flaws of this fortification were spelt out, and it was only 23 years later that he dared come out with a new plan, this time in Italy, in a place where there was nothing, in Palmanova. He built a complete same structure, exactly the same city like Nicosia, with exactly 11 bastions, with the same 3 passages. Now, this passage of the Famagusta Gate has a particular story. It's the most beautiful of all the passages we have. So we have a Kyrenia Gate and a Paphos Gate. This is the Famagusta Gate because this was the road that was taking us all the way to Famagusta. This was a main passage as Savornian also imposed the fact that the river that crisscrossed Nicosia back in the old times, dividing Nicosia into a northern sector and a southern sector, should stop and flow within the moat. Of course, this never was achieved, so Nicosia never had water within the moat. So this was the central passage. It's completely built in the latest style of fortifications architecture. There's a central passage and 2 rooms. Now, of course, after the city fell to the Ottomans, we had a period of practically 3 centuries until we were sold to the English, when the first essays for the preservation of this very important 16th century monument began. But it was only in 1982, and after, of course, the big disaster that befell on Cyprus, which was the invasion of 1974, and the city of Nicosia was split in 2. In 1982, Mayor of Nicosia, Lelos Dimitriades, decided that this would be a unique place to house the cultural center of Nicosia, so as to ease the people to come back to this area, which is very much within the proximity of the line of demarcation between the Turkish-occupied land today and Nicosia. So there was a restoration system that lasted out for a while, paid by the people of the area, by the people of Nicosia. We had instructions from ICOM and ICOMOS of how to do it, and the gates opened to the public, and ever since it has an amazing history of the cultural development of the Cypriots in all the arts.